Now going to question 21, we always start with the prompt. This one is telling us that it's a grammar question, so let's read for grammar. This sociologist sits on the review board tasked with adding new sites to the Register of Historic Places, which includes these two places. She doesn't make such decisions single-handedly, however. All historical designations must be approved by a group of 9 other experts from fields of this one, that one, the third one, and the fourth one. So in the beginning, we have just a green statement there, which kind of sets everything up. But in purple, we have the independent clause. Now remember, a clause will have a subject and a verb. So the subject is the person's name. The verb is make. She doesn't make her decisions single-handedly. Now, the part that follows that, which is right here, that's going to be our modifier. If a clause has a subject and a verb and it's a full sentence component, a modifier is just some little part of a sentence that doesn't have a subject and a verb. For instance, this sentence right here, John went there. That is an independent clause because it has the subject, John, and the verb, went, and it also sounds like it finishes. But if instead of saying John went there, we're saying something really incomplete like however, well, that definitely can't be a clause. Of course, it's super incomplete. And what it technically is a modifier. So you've got in purple your independent clause, in green your modifier, and in orange, we have another full clause. So let's talk a little bit about our rules for special punctuation. A semicolon would be for 2 independent clauses. For the colon, the first part would have to be independent, and the second part is anything that describes the first part. For instance, there was only one thing Scooby could do, run. Now what we're saying here is that if you have an independent clause followed by another independent clause, the decision between a semicolon and a colon is based in the idea of whether or not the second part is describing the first part. So in my example, run is describing the only thing Scooby could do. So if it's describing the first part, then a colon is more appropriate. If it's not describing the first part, a semicolon is more appropriate. Remember, for the colon, you can have anything there, a single word, all the way to an independent clause. So there's no problem having a colon if the colon is followed by an independent clause, as long as the second part is describing the first part. So here, is the second part describing the first part? All historical designations must be approved by a group of 9 other experts from the field of architecture, blah, 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 blah. And that is indeed a description of the first part because it's describing how this person doesn't make such decisions single-handedly. So a colon would be perfect. However, it's not being offered to us. And so we could also settle for a semicolon. And that's because this orange part is an independent clause. It has its verb right here and the subject. These designations must be approved. So all designations must be approved. That's an independent clause. It sounds complete. It doesn't really matter what comes after it because it's already complete. And so we've got the semicolon for 2 independent clauses. The word however is a modifier, so we're not really thinking about it grammatically. And the rest of the sentence around it works great. So we're going to go ahead and pick B here.